Today, we are excited to welcome Derrick Fulton, Executive Director, Ohio Facing History and Ourselves. Derrick is an experienced organizational leader with more than 25 years of leadership experience, including executive level, employee relations, team and consensus building, and program development. He has held leadership positions at various organizations throughout his career before joining Facing History, including City Year, University Settlement, the Ohio Department of Education, Communities and Schools Ohio, Franklin County Children's Services, and Allen County Children's Services. We are also proud to call him a graduate of our Leadership Cleveland class of 2015. Please welcome Derrick.
Thank you, Rachel. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here with you all today. I want to make sure we make good use of our time. I do have a few slides. I'm going to try to move through in an efficient way to leave time for conversation. One thing about, I'm not really deck guy, but I think it's important to have a deck to provide information. There is a video that you'll have a chance to observe, and then we'll leave time for questions. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm hoping everything works like we practice, Rachel. So I'm going to go now. All right, I think we're good. Again, I'm Derrick Fulton. I'm the Executive Director of Facing History and Ourselves, Ohio. Facing History was founded in 1976 in Boston, Massachusetts. A group of educators were concerned that the Holocaust was not being taught in schools. And over time, not only have we developed lessons around the Holocaust, but other historical events like the Reconstruction era, Little Rock Nine, and other important events in time in history. As I share throughout this conversation, you'll learn more about the why behind our work. The goal of our work is to foster students' critical thinking and a sense of agency, encourage their sense of justice, of civic responsibility through informed participation, rooted in empathy, and deep understanding of diverse perspectives. I'd also be remiss, there is a strong sense of belonging embedded in our work. Everything we do is centered around belonging, really developing a sense of community, and really leaning into students' identity. A critical piece is, not no pun intended, we teach young people the skills how to think, not what to think, and we want to hopefully change mindsets. I could not do this work without a fantastic team that I work alongside. We have a program vertical and we have a development and fundraising vertical. The program team is led by Lisa Lefstein-Baruch. Her partner is Crystal Krzyzewski, incredible individuals. And I see Debbie Klein is here today. She's joined us. She's our incredible development director. She leads our fundraising function. And then we have Jessica Guerreri, she's the associate development director. And we have Nicole Weber, who is our development administrative assistant. Amazing, amazing team. Our mission at Facing History and Ourselves uses lessons of history to challenge teachers and their students to stand up to racism, anti-Semitism, and other forms of bigotry and hate. I need to minimize, I see too many people. There we go. Our vision, we envision a world where students and teachers realize the power of the decision-making to promote the development of a more humane and informed citizenry. Together, we are strengthening democracy by preparing the next generation to build more civil and just communities based on knowledge and compassion. As I share, we were founded in 1976 in Boston, Massachusetts. We still serve in the New England area. We also have these sites that we are involved in. As I mentioned, we are in Ohio. We're in the Cleveland, Ohio area. As we evolve through this presentation, I'll talk about how we're actually working to expand our work. So I'm not going to name all these. Hopefully everyone, everyone may not be able to see. I want to make sure I'm inclusive. We're in Memphis, Tennessee. We're in the South, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York City, Cleveland, Ohio, Toronto, and Ontario. We serve quite a bit of Canada, and then London, United Kingdom. What I'm going to do next is share a video. When I transition to the video, at the end, you have a chance to observe and listen to the video. At the end of the prompt, it asks, are there any questions? I would like for you to hold questions and put questions into the chat if you're so inclined.
We all have these elements within us. The ability to be a perpetrator, bystander, or upstander. You have a choice. But how do you learn to make complicated choices? Facing history and ourselves teaches students to think for themselves and to widen their perspectives. Why is that so important? Because people make choices, and choices make history. At Facing History, we understand that history is the human story, and to understand it, we must first understand ourselves. A Facing History class might start by asking a student, what shapes you as an individual and as part of a community? So what is Facing History and ourselves? For starters, we're a global education organization. From lessons of the Holocaust and other genocides to struggles for civil rights from Birmingham to South Africa, we teach students to wrestle with complex moments in human history and help them understand the range of human behavior. Through those studies, we seek to combat racism, anti-Semitism, prejudice, and hate. And because we know that the lifeblood of democracy is active, informed citizens, we help young people become upstanders, building confidence, empathy, and civic engagement. To accomplish this, we combine professional learning, academic rigor, and engaging curriculum to help teachers build dynamic classroom experiences. We help school leaders build schools and classrooms that are inclusive, reflective, where everyone feels they belong. And we create resources that reach millions of middle and high school students worldwide. Facing History gets results that have been documented in more than 100 studies. 93% of Facing History students are more likely to recognize the dangers of racial or religious stereotyping. 83% are more likely to help if they see someone being bullied. And more than half of Facing History students are more apt to get involved in their school, community, or world. The world needs Facing History, and we need you. Any questions?
Thank you. Again, there will be opportunity for questions at the end. So a little bit more about our approach. Facing History's work sits at the intersection of academics rooted in civic education, equity, and social emotional learning. Civic education. Teachers strengthen students' civic identity and prepare adolescents to ethically and actively participate in a just and democratic society. Equity. Teachers develop mindsets and practices informed by an understanding of history that meet the needs of all students and are committed to the empowerment of all students. And social emotional learning. Teachers build students' habits of self-reflection, perspective taking, and interaction tied to cultivating empathy and growth mindsets. I'm hopeful that you all will have some questions as it relates to some of the things that I'm showing and sharing. Our reach. As you can see, we have a pretty expansive network. We reach over 450,000 plus educators around the world in our network. We have over 40,000 schools with Facing History trained educators and 88 school districts engaged in district strategic partnerships. You're probably wondering, how do we do that? We do that in multiple ways. We work directly in the classroom. We started our work teacher to teacher, and now we're working to be more embedded in schools and school districts. We provide curriculum support along with being in that classroom, coaching and development, really asset-based approach work, really strong pedagogy, and we have some really strong educators leading this work. We provide professional development opportunities online and in person learning opportunities. If you go to our website, I'll share at the end our website, you'll see that we have a very robust online learning platform. In the previous slide, in the presentation, you saw some information about our data. This is some of the more information about our impact. Students in a Facing History classroom were 94% more likely than their peers to report the class motivated them to learn. This comes from a most recent study. 98% of participating educators will recommend Facing History professional learning to others. Anecdote, last week I was in a professional development, and I've heard this on an ongoing basis when I observe professional development and when I actively participate. Educators say repeatedly they have not had this type of professional development before because the teachers are actually participating in what the students will learn. So it's actually something that they can actually put into action, and they are learning from each other and they're not being talked at or talked to. I'm excited to share, given that we are in the Cleveland area, we have been in this area for 26 years. We have a partner schools network locally. These are our Northeast Ohio Schools Network. They were involved with us at least 2 years, and then they were grandfathered into this partner schools network. Facing History New Tech High School, Glenville High School, Hawkins School, Laurel School, Magnificent High School, Mandel Jewish Day School, New Tech West High School, Shaker Heights Middle School, St. Martin de Porres High School, Urban Community School, and West Academy. And if you're not familiar, a fun fact, we actually, our physical office is located on the Urban Community School campus. They're incredible partners, and we're happy to be there. I mentioned that traditionally we work teacher to teacher, and we're not abandoning that. As we're working to expand our presence across the country, and in particular here in Ohio, we're really working to be strategic about moving from teacher to teacher to actually school to school, and then hopefully to be more embedded in the school district as a whole. We just engaged in a new partnership with Beechwood Schools. We've been working with them for years, had elective courses, providing professional development workshops, and now we are working with them what's called our Schools Where We Belong model. It's a 2 to 3 year school-wide partnership for middle and high schools, where you receive everything I named: classroom support, professional learning, coaching, embedded curriculum support, and so on. And then after the end of the 2 years, you're grandfathered into it. You become part of the network, and that's really an attractive component of the work because you get to spend time with those other school partners. You get to learn from them. You're learning from your colleagues. It is really an effective way to engage school partners in potential work. And at the macro level, we're working to be more embedded in the school district across the whole school district, a more comprehensive approach to implementing our industry-leading resources across the entire district. So part of my work is working alongside the program team to talk to school districts about how we might partner in a more intentional way. And as we move towards closing this conversation, I want to talk a little bit about belonging. Why did I mention belonging previously? It is so critical to everything that we do. And I want people to really think about, what does belonging mean to you? What did belonging mean to you as a young person, and why it's so important? We have had the pleasure of working with the world-renowned psychologist, John Amici, who some of you may know as a former NBA basketball player, and he went to Penn State. He's a wonderful individual, and it's actually a quote from him. He's a partner with us and provides incredible support and is an advocate. I'm going to read the quote. "A lot of people think we need a safe environment because it's just about this warm and fuzzy experience that young people are supposed to have in education. And it's not really about that. Teachers have to create this emotional space where it's safe, but challenging, where people can be themselves, where people can take chances and fail, where people can tell stories about them and reveal things about themselves without risk of derision, without fear of being marginalized, without safety. There's nothing. There's no learning." So just think about that for a moment. Think about what we want for our young people. Think about experiences you have and how that translates into being an adult, being an active, engaged citizen. If you feel shut down, if you feel like your voice is not heard, if you don't feel like you are provided a sense of agency, conditions are not created for that, it makes it more challenging for you to engage in a really thoughtful way. I really appreciated the opportunity to share this information with you all. We have multiple learning opportunities in the new year. If you or someone you know is interested, please contact myself at Derrick_Fulton at facinghistory.org, or you can visit our website at facinghistory.org to learn more and sign up for a learning session. I look forward to hearing from you. And definitely, I want to hopefully have people ask questions.
Derrick, thank you. Let's jump in by starting with a school who might be interested in working with Facing History. Kind of what does that initial conversation look like? How do you build the services and programs that you offer with them?
So it starts with understanding their needs, not going into it with the understanding and the sort of that position that we know what's best, understanding what their needs, and actually doing some pre-work, doing some research about what are some of the school's priorities, what are they working on. A lot of school districts have created what's called a profile of a graduate, and there's critical thinking almost in every single one of those profile of the graduates. It's everything about creating a really strong citizen, working with the whole child. So actually doing that pre-work is a good precursor to say, okay, these are the things that you've said that you're working on. And in all fairness to school districts, I've talked to multiple school district leaders and also people in the classroom, because they have so many competing priorities. I've heard multiple people say, we're really having a challenging time actualizing that. So understanding their needs, listening, and really trying to create something that will be meaningful for them. And hopefully they, participate in a workshop or learn so they can gain a better understanding. It's one thing to hear from me or Debbie or Lisa or somebody on the team, but if you don't actually experience it and feel it's harder to actually be able to understand and conceptualize how it can be life changing.
And can you talk through kind of maybe an example of what a curriculum or a course might look like and what the outcomes of that experience are?
Very good. So so last week we have one of our core case studies of Holocaust and human behavior. So that was a workshop. So teachers from multiple schools across are at Beechwood, some are our school partners, and a couple of schools that we are hoping that will become involved. They were there to learn. So the first piece was their professional development opportunity was focused on everything we do in professional development is about providing tools so that the educators will know what they will be able to have the students experience. So it's actually an experiential workshop development. So the one outcome is, from a qualitative standpoint, is for those teachers to actually experience what the young people will experience in the classroom. So providing that curriculum-based support. So it depends on the class. Like we actually have civics curriculum. So if they're working to meet some of the state standards around civics, we actually can provide curriculum support. If they're working, we've actually been asked because some school districts are having a challenge. They're having some communities really push them hard on some of the ways that they're not being inclusive of certain communities, especially right now, the Jewish community, Jewish children, there's anti-Semitism on the rise. So we've been asked to come in and provide support in that area. So an outcome would be providing education, providing support, hopefully leading to we be engaged and we provide additional support so we can help. Another outcome would be decreasing cultural challenges, strengthening the culture in the school, removing incidents of bullying and active engagement. So civics, it could be actually the academic results. We want to help them to realize their academic outcomes, those expectations. And also the cultural aspect is building that sense of belonging and community. So that qualitative, and then the quantitative is the academic outcomes. The qualitative is really strengthening the culture and really building a sense of belonging so young people feel safe in their schools. And also educators. I don't want to lose sight of educators feeling a sense of belonging and community within themselves. They get to experience it. And last thing I'll say is we hear over and over, can you also be doing this for adults? Adults need this. So our teachers, our adults, they are engaged. And we have had opportunity to do lunch and learns and things of that nature with educators using lessons of history to actually have them think about how they would have handled that situation, how you would have responded to that.
Can you share some insights into the funding model for the organization and the programming?
So primarily, the Cleveland area has been very generous philanthropically. So organizational wide, we've been 99%, 98% funded by philanthropy. We're working to generate earned revenue, asking school districts and to actually invest in the model. So that is a newer model. We want it to be more balanced. We're actually trying to do it in a very thoughtful way, like a 90-10, using public, really, sort of doing a step system into getting earned revenue. And that's challenging because, school districts some school districts have more resources than others. So, really helping them understand why it's important to prioritize this work. Unfortunately, I have no problem saying this, civics, when you think from an academic standpoint, it's not as prioritized as math, science, and the other disciplines. So really trying to influence and encourage the whole child. So philanthropy has been incredible, and individual, corporate foundations, and the Cleveland community is incredibly generous. But we're working to try to have school districts invest, if at all possible.
How has, over these past 12 months, this net evolving conversation around DEI and various conversations, how has that been impacting your work, what schools might be willing to engage with?
That's a great question. So no one has told me, no, Derek, we don't want to do this because we're concerned. So no one has verbally said that. So it's almost the quiet, when someone may not respond, they may say something and to let you know that, well, this sounds great, or you can tell the people that want to actively engage or the ones who are being nice about, I won't be able to do this. I'm happy to say no one has told me to my face, we don't care about diversity, equity, and inclusion. But we're not a diversity, equity, and inclusion provider. It is embedded in our work. We're not going to shy away from, I've mentioned belonging, we've mentioned agency, a sense of identity, and critical thinking. So we're not going to shy away from that. So no one has said, this is challenging for me, I can't support it. But, silence speaks volumes. That has, I'm pretty sure that's played a role. But I'm very excited about the fact that we had a full room of educators last week who were actively engaged, and we're talking about the things that their schools are still doing in this space to actually make sure that they're trying to develop well-rounded students to become citizens. I gave you a long answer to say, I don't know for sure that somebody said, hey, Derrick, we can't do this because of what's going on, but I think some of the silence speaks volumes in some spaces.
And how do you work with the larger network of Facing History across all the different sites?
So it's, if we have different cohorts. So for example, Debbie's on the call. So I have an executive director cohort. So we work together, share best practices. How do we work together? What are things that are working? What are not working? Similar across every function. Debbie Klein is part of the development vertical. So she spends time with development directors, really talking about what works, what hasn't worked. I'm very proud to say here locally, I'll give you an example of that. We've been doing what's called these learning opportunities, learning parties in board members' homes or in different places. And Debbie and team locally created that prior to me joining. We had one last week with a former, with LC grad. So that's why we weren't at the party last Tuesday, because it was the same night as the party. And it was unbelievable how many people attended. We had an educator from Lakewood who did a lesson on empathy and humanity. So individuals got to experience our work. And because of my experience working across lines of difference, I was able to thread what he shared to close to tell a story about my personal experience working for Children's Services and seeing my client's humanity. And she eventually seeing my humanity after, us developing a relationship and, working across lines of difference.
As you look at the curriculum and starting and working with educators, are you starting to see those conversations around what is happening across the national and international landscapes built into that curriculum? Are teachers raising any concerns or asking questions about how to approach different topics?
So it's a both and. We've been very careful not to, because the current landscape is so, fraught, we're very careful about not trying to solve everything currently. So we're really looking at historical events. So, but we do provide support to actually support educators if they need to have challenging conversations. So we're not leaning into the current events in the way that some may, but because it's constantly evolving. And because of the polarized state we want to be very careful so that people do not have the interpretation that we're trying to encourage people what to think. We're really providing the tools. So if someone reached out to us and said, we need help on this particular situation, as I shared previously, we will jump in and provide support, provide the tools so that they can have our expertise in helping them foster a civil conversation with their students.
As you reflect on the time you've had with the organization so far, what's success that you are most proud of?
That no one has told me off. No, I'm just joking. So I think the piece that I'm a firm believer in, there's some people on the call who know of me. I'm a culture believer. I believe in culture. So these are hard times. I'm very proud of the culture that we're building. I'm new to the team. The team was already in place when I joined, except for Nicole and Crystal. I take that back. Crystal wasn't part of the team. So we're an evolving team. I'm very proud of the culture that we're building in service to the communities that we serve. I'm very proud of that. And I'm very proud of what I've seen as far as the curriculum and the support and the professional development that we deliver. She's not here. Lisa Lefstein-Baruch is an amazing program director, and Crystal's amazing as well. But one of the reasons why I joined the organization is because I saw Lisa I interviewed with her, and then when I saw her actually do professional development, facilitate, and I saw her in action, if you will, it's like as long as people are open to the conversation, I know that Lisa can be helpful to the team. So it's not about me, it's about the collective team. And that's what I'm most proud of.
Now let's look on the flip side. What have been some of the major challenges you faced, and how have you worked to overcome those?
Um, so Debbie will support this. I am competitive. I like to win, and my winning comes through, the work that we do. I'm a recovering athlete. I would like this to move faster in service to our students. I really would love for folks to get back to thinking about how we work across lines of difference and work, from a civil standpoint. And again, I named that experience. I appreciated Joe. His name is Joe Labazo. He's a teacher at Lakewood. It's amazing. He's been providing facing history lessons. By him providing that lesson, it made me think about, I was a young caseworker, and this individual was using words like colored, the N word, things of that nature. Who was, I had to work with her directly. I'm proud of. I've centered the kids I was working with. So think about our work, centering the students. Think about what we do every day, centering that community that you're working with, as opposed to always thinking about yourself, and centering what we're trying to accomplish. And by doing that, centering what I needed to accomplish with that person I was working with, I was able to build trust with her and actually talk to her about the things that she was saying that were offensive. So those are the things that, and I was able to help her get her kids back. So those are the things that I hope that we can do. And it frustrates me that we're still in that space. And I would love for us to think about the whole child in education. I'm not saying educators don't. I actually think educators are held to a standard around accountability that makes it challenging to think about how do we weave some of this in that we're talking about today.
So, Derrick, as you look ahead to the next 5 to 8 years of the organization, what is that vision that you're looking to achieve? And how can those of us on the call help you get there?
So from a macro level, we want to be in, Margot Stern Strom started the organization. Her goal was her vision, big vision was we'll be in every classroom across the country. So that's something that we want to achieve. That's the big vision. So when you think about expansion, as you're listening, please reach out for any questions. Please let me know if you would like a follow-up. I would love introductions to school districts who you think might be well positioned to be receptive to a conversation. And also, you saw that we have this partner school network that is already in place, and we need to continue to support them. I mentioned school districts do not always have the resources. We're hoping to bring on new partners, but also we need to support the partners that are already in place. So anybody who's interested in supporting our work from a philanthropic standpoint, that would be great. An introduction so that we can expand our work, that would be welcome as well.
And for our final question, as you think back over the course of your career, what is a piece of leadership advice that has really helped to shape your approach to your leadership now?
There's something that I live by. It's more important to get it right than to be right. I keep that at the forefront of and it's not easy. Everybody has an opinion. I have an opinion, but to continue to think about, it's more important to get it right than to be right, and to be thoughtful, reflective, and to lean into that you have a team, and that so many people have a lot to offer. And so when you ask me what I'm most proud about, the team is amazing. They have a lot to offer. So I need them. They're amazing.
Well, Derrick, we thank you and your amazing team for all of the work that you are doing to carry forward such important conversations and make sure that these topics and the history remains alive today. So thank you.